Yeah, I'll just start now then. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of the RJM Experience podcast with me, Carl Maloney, that guy, bothering you again for another week here at the Music Industry Podcast. A podcast, ladies and gentlemen, where we delve into the grassroots music industry and beyond. And today, ladies and gentlemen, we are punching. We are really punching. We've got a legend on his hand. We've got Dave Hill. Dave Hill from Slade. Wow. Thanks for joining us today, mate.
It's a pleasure, my friend. Yes, it's a
So,
pleasure to talk to you.
where do you start, man? When you've got this farewell tour coming out in December that we'll come to in a bit.
Yeah,
But where do you start looking back on a career, on your career, mate?
well, start back at the beginning, don't you?
Okay.
You start back as a 13-year-old boy,
Yeah.
gets a guitar from Kay's catalogue. You may not know what Kay's
I
catalogue.
do. I do, mate.
That's a good thing. Dreadful guitar, but my dad said, if you're going to learn it, I'll buy a cheap one and see how you go, and then we'll take it from there. Well, we did take it from there. Um, I went to see a school teacher was teaching guitar, so I went to see him. He says, "You can't have that guitar upside down." I said, "Well, I'm left-handed." And bearing in mind, there's no Beatles.
Yeah.
And he said, "Well, don't matter about that." He says, "You'll just get used to playing right-handed." And he was absolutely right. In fact, he did me a favor.
Mm.
The business with music, I think it's always been there, but I didn't quite find my feet. I didn't do too well at school, and I remember my mother wrote to the headmistress of the junior school to try and get me into a music class. And I don't think the particular person liked me anyway, because I was always clowning around. And she said, because mum was a very important person, you see, she could write a letter really strong. And I should probably pointed out that my granddad was a classical pianist and David should be in some sort of music class. But I'm afraid she came to me and she looked quite offended by the fact that, a woman on the council estate has written such a letter. What she didn't realise is that my mum, and we wouldn't have known at the time, was a war cabinet minister's secretary, right? And
Wow.
she was extremely important, but we didn't know that because she couldn't tell us, right? So the woman's looking at, and I don't particularly like her anyway. She was always picking on me. She said, "You can't possibly be in a music class. You can't read music." Well, I was thinking to myself, they're approaching at 10. That's not unusual that I can't read music because nobody taught me, right? And nobody ever taught me to read music anyway, all the way through my career, right? Because it isn't about music, it's about what you listen to and how you hear it, right? And the notes you tend to get together as you progress along. But she didn't let me join. I did get my own back.
Oh God.
When I made it big time, I mentioned the story in one of the trade papers. I don't know which one it was.
Yeah.
And the kids went up to it. "Is it true, Miss So and So, that you wouldn't let him get in the music class, this pop star?" And it was a bit sort of, "I never said that." "Oh,
Oh
yes, you
yeah.
did." And I think it was quite funny. Um, I think her name was Fryer. We used to call her Fryer Talk.
Okay. Wow.
Anyway, I'm sure she's a nice person, really, but she didn't like me.
Must be nice just to give a big middle finger to people like that that wouldn't like give you a chance of just because of their own
I think
insecurities or whatever it
it
was.
it did have it had a funny feeling in me when she did it. It was almost like Mum was really clever and she knew the head of police, she knew Enoch Powell well. She was well versed. She was very clever and she got people jobs and she taught shorthand, right? But you wouldn't mess with her. She was very clever. Um, and I kind of, it was a funny feeling for a young kid at that age. I must have been 10 or something, right? I mean, you're not really a grip with school at 10.
No.
And it was a funny feeling where I felt in a way that she was insulting my mom, because I thought my mother uh, could quite easily go up to that school and give her a hard time, by rejecting something, but she didn't do that.
Mm,
But it was a funny feeling inside of me of disappointment. That's what it was. I felt
mm,
disappointed, knowing full well that Mum would write a really great letter. And it was sort of like, I think I went back home and told her. I think she was going to attempt doing something more about it, but I let it go. And then basically, it came to a halt till the point until I went to senior school. And when I went to senior school, Elvis Presley was around, right? And the music of America was coming to Britain, right? It was in the lights of Dion and all those pop songs. And and I learned a song by Ricky Valance called Tell Laura I Love Her, right? And when I had the guitar and Dad bought me, I remember I was in my mother's bedroom with some sheet music looking at the chords.
mm.
And my mate down the road had got acoustic, and a pair of us were learning it, you see. Then Dad said to me, he said, I think you should go for some lessons on the guitar. Um, and the guy who was teaching me said, you can't possibly play the guitar upside down, which is not totally true because Jimi Hendrix played the guitar upside down, but Jimi Hendrix was left-handed as well. But the thing is, he set me on the road,
Mm.
and it wasn't about notes. He just said, I'll help you get started. And I didn't need him for that long. Um, but I drew my friend in who was going to play bass. He taught him some bass, and we looked at the sheet music, which has got the note. It wasn't the notes, it was the chords I was interested
Yeah.
in. So that's how I started. Then skiffle hit the country, right? And it was Lonnie Donegan. And this kind of rhythmical sound of skiffle was at the cinema. And we used to go Saturday morning cinema, and I'd be 10 then. And we'd go and watch Flash Gordon and all that sort of stuff on the cinemas. Because we had a cinema on the council estate, you see, it was great. And they get us up on stage, and everybody would start playing funny instruments. Like there'd be a kid with a broom handle and a square box with a piece of string, and he was the bass, right? I was playing washboard, so I wasn't playing guitar then because I wasn't good enough. And we all stood on the stage, and I felt like the first time I'd been on stage, I was looking at this blonde girl out the front, not to realise they were about to go on holiday with her and her parents, right? But
Okay.
I was a bit besotted with her because I liked Doris Day. So blondes have always, I married a blonde. Blondes have always had an attraction to me, right? It's always been the case. And when Skiffle and Donegan and I just forgot his name now. You know the blonde guy that did Half a Sixpence. What's his name?
Oh,
Remember him? The
it's not coming to
actor.
me there.
He was an actor as well. Anyway, Tommy
Mm.
Steele. Tommy
Okay.
Steele.
Yep.
Yeah, Tommy Steele was skiffle playing, and he was good, and he was a personality, and he was starting out to make some success. And with me, I started to learn the guitar because Dad said, I'll buy a cheap one just in case you don't carry on. But I did carry on,
Yeah.
which then led to me going to the teacher. Then that led to me asking Dad to buy me an electric guitar with an amplifier. So I'd have that in my bedroom, right in my little box room. And my sister has fond memories of me twanging it in the bedroom, when I was a kid. But it led to a funny situation where a kid down the road had got acoustic and he comes up my house. Then a guy turns up at my front door, I know from school, and he says he can sing. So I've got a microphone in his hand. He said, do you want to sing it? I said, funny that. So I was thinking of forming a group. So he said, well, I'll be the singer. And my mate, who I always got in trouble with, he became the bass player. And then there was a young guy that looked like Cliff Richard, but he couldn't sing. So I put him on drums, right?
Okay.
So in short, I formed a group on that council estate. And that group on that council estate, we didn't really do any venues. We weren't any good, but we were trying. But we got so far, but then I had to go to work and get a job,
Mm.
at 15. And I was besotted with the Shadows, right? And Cliff. Great era. And then American music came across with Buddy Holly was one of them, and the what's his name now, Chuck Berry.
Mm.
Chuck Berry had a dramatic effect on me, the way he played and the lyrics of his songs. I thought he was really clever and a very much a showman with his funny walk. So I started to listen to him and learnt that. And then I was in some sort of pub band for a short period of time, and a guy spotted me and he said, "What are you doing in this pub band?" He says, "It's not right for you. You're too young." He said, "I've got a group in Bilston. Would you like to come and audition there after a lead player?" So I went across, and in that group was Don Powell, and which Don and I would end up moving out of that group. But to shorten the story, I had such a good time with this band for a couple of years that I went to mom and dad and said, "Look, I hate this job. I hated it, A, because I wanted to grow my hair, and also because I wanted to escape." So they said to me, or dad says, "Give it a go, son," right? And I was 18 then. And it started a journey with, I was still with this band, right? But what actually happened was that band broke up, right? Even though I turned professional, I was suddenly in a bit of a quandary. And I thought, and Don thought, that we should form a band like the Beatles, four people,
Mm.
a couple of singers maybe, and not a singer and a backing band. So I heard about Nod. Somebody told me, "Oh, he's got this really good group." He says he's quite a good singer as well. And he's a good frontman. He talks to the audience. And I thought, oh, I'm looking for somebody like that. And sometimes things come together when you're not necessarily planning it, but you're thinking about it.
Mm.
And then there he was, standing outside a famous store in Wolverhampton. And I said to Don, "There's that Nod, let's go and talk to him." So I spoke to him, and he'd left that group. And he said, "Well, I'm doing nothing. I might join you."
Mm.
I said, "Well, when we were splitting the group up, I said, I auditioned a bass player." I said he was a rosy faced kid of 15, but he played bass guitar as if Jimi Hendrix was playing it, bending notes. Nobody bends notes with a bass guitar. And extraordinarily strong fingers in his hand. I watched him and he was busily playing there and he was into the Who. And I thought, I stopped the thing and I said, "What are you playing?" Because he said, "Well, going on, a lot was going on." Very exciting.
Yeah.
And I thought, he's either great or he's the worst decision I'll make. But I decided to take him
Yeah.
because there was something special, something so different. I took him, I went down to his house to give him the job, and I took Noddy with me. And the young guy thought he was joining the band I was in before. So when Nod came with me, Jim wouldn't know who he was. I said, "Well, he's our new singer." He says, "What happens to the old singer?" I said, "He's gone. It's
That's
end
it.
of."
Yeah.
And so we decided the only way to find out how good we were was to get us together.
Mm.
So Jim, Nod, Don, me went into a pub opposite Nod's house and played three songs that we all knew. And I have to say, it was as if we'd been playing all the time. There was nobody making mistakes. It was happening.
Were that covers, Dave, or were that your own stuff at the
Covers,
time? Covers,
covers,
yeah.
yeah. probably Tamla Motown, Four Tops or something like that.
Mhm.
Something that everybody knew.
Yeah.
And Jim knew them. Me and Nod, they were stuff that we were playing around about the Beatles time because we're playing blues as well. So we formed it and did a gig, and it was gelling. The word it was gelling, but we became quite serious as a group, motivated in a sense of doing something. Nod had packed up his job. I'd packed up mine. Jim never had a job. He come straight in the band, right? And he was an artist as well. Don was with me. So off we went. And I bet we were together from 1963 till 1966, right? No, that 1963, I was in the first group. Then 1966, I gave Nod the job. That's correct. I've got that right now. And 1966 to 1968, we were 2 years together and became a really great band, right? So much so that we got spotted in London by a bloke running a studio and offered to ask us to play and record an album. And we said, well, we can't afford that. And he said, you don't need to afford it. I'll pay for it. He said, I like the sound of it. So he recorded us. And then he said, you need somebody down here in London. He said, you won't get anywhere up north. So he put us in touch with the Gunnell brothers, which were club owners in London. And these club owners happened to know someone who was looking for a group, and it happened to be Chas Chandler. Chas Chandler had finished with Hendrix, and he was looking for a new group, a new way of going. So they got Chas to come down and see us play one of the clubs. Chas basically, no word of a lie, loved us. From the moment he heard us, he came across and said, I want a manager.
Mhm.
I said, well, we signed to him. He said, don't worry about that. I'll buy you out. And he did, 500 quid. Right. So he took us on, and it was going to take some time, a year or more than a year, working with Chas, getting publicity, becoming skinheads, which wasn't the best period of our life, but at least we tried it. That didn't particularly work, but it got the name known. Still didn't have a hit. And then out of the blue, Chas says, what's this song you're always doing on stage? It goes down great. He says, let's record that, make it like a live song. It was Get Down and Get With It that Little Richard used to play. Now, Nod was a massive fan of Little Richard, and Nod's voice is like a Little Richard. And we did it. And thankfully, it got in the low end, then creeped higher. Then Nod and Jim got together as a writing partner. And the first song they wrote was 'Cause I Love You. Jim playing violin, Nod singing it. Played it to Chas Chandler, and he said, I think you've written your first hit. He said, I think actually you've written a number one. And we made a great record out of that in 1971. And no doubt about it, it went flying up the charts. As soon as it got the airplay, it was one of them songs that was so original, got a lot of big claps in it and boot stamping. That was the start of our journey to what would become a huge band, right? And all the processes and all the things that happened before molded the kind of group we were going to be. Chas guided us, produced us, put us with the right people, got the right press, and we started a journey from 'Cause I Love You to more number ones, right? And come 1973, we were the biggest band in the world except America, right? We were, without a doubt, the biggest band in the world. And Chas always thought that people were looking for the next Beatles, and he always thought we were. We had the ability, we wrote great songs, and we had great players. And Chas was pretty golden with us. He was very firm, though. You'd get in an argument with him, but he was pretty nice. He was I liked him a lot. I miss him. Um, I've written a song, a thank you song in my solo album, which is coming out next year. And I call it Thanks for the Memories. Now, Thanks for the Memories is a thank you to all the members of Slade, Chas Chandler, publicist, and all the people that helped me in the 60s to get where I am, right? The whole principle of me is that I've always been driven. I wasn't confident at school. I certainly wasn't confident at all. I didn't know what I'd do in life, but the guitar somehow saved me. I found my way, and mom and dad supported me till I could go professional. Um, and my mother's father was a classical pianist, so I think the music came through her. I'd always had melody in my head. And obviously, in the last few years, I've written 3 albums, right? I haven't recorded 3 albums, I've recorded one important one. And it's a collection of probably the influences that influenced me. And it's not just about what made Slade, but it's also about what made me, in a sense of my variation in my thoughts. Because the kind of stuff that I liked had given me opportunities now to play the things I particularly like. Not just, it's not a Slade album, it's a Dave Hill biography album based on truth. And I can write that sort of stuff, emotional stuff, because I seem to have that in me. I can always write ballads. I don't know what that is with me, but majors and minor chords, well, minor chords mainly with the ballads, is something that always affected me. It's because of the classical music I listened to as a kid, which was Beethoven, Tchaikovsky, right? Um, and the other one was what was his name? The Warsaw guy, Chopin.
Mm.
Chopin. All that sort of stuff Dad was playing. And I was affected by that stuff. I think it's come out in another way. But I think the entertainment side of me developed. So not just a guitar player, but also somebody that's got a personality, who's confident, and that's where it led me to.
What was it like, Dave? Just thanks for the story about the band getting together. What was it like waking up just knowing you're in the biggest band in the world?
I think 1973, Chaz always thought that we would be the biggest band in the world. He had every confidence in what we did. I think more so when 73 was a year of mixed situations. We had a drummer that had a terrible accident, right? And we were number one in the charts. His girlfriend got killed and he lost his memory. So we went through that. We'd already had 2 number 1s. We were number one at the time. And then the rug was pulled from under us. But it didn't deaden us. We supported him, helped him get back, and kept focused. But the thing that made me more realised was after that incident was when in late November we went to New York and Nod and Jim had got a song which was a Christmas song. And this was no Jingle Bells, this was original. We had to learn it. It was hard for Don because he had to learn it because he'd forget. But we worked together and we come out with something that actually has been a real monster of a song, right? And at that time, there was no doubt what I thought. Chaz rung me up and he said, Dave, are you sitting down? I said, what do you mean? He says, you've sold 250,000 albums in quarter of a million records in one day. And we're likely to run out of records, so we're going to import them from Germany, right? Because it was so big, that song. And then, I mean, the history of it is unknown to us at the time. We think it's a hit record. We realize how big it became. And it spread like wildfire as far as Australia. I think the impact when Chaz was talking to me about how many we were selling was like, we've just been celebrating our biggest year and we've had a tragedy. And out of the tragedy came a light. And that song was the light for us because it helped us get back, but it also took us to another level. And I know most people who brought out songs at Christmas when that song was out must have regretted doing that because our song was sucking all the sales on the top end. Because I know Roy Wood had a Christmas song out. I didn't know he'd written one, but he had that out. And that was a really good song. And there were many other songs. But because our song was a rock song, the main point of it, um, the reason that song became huge is quite simple. The country was on its knees in 1973. There were power cuts, strikes, 3 day a weeks, and nobody had much money. And I think most people were so fed up with the government and everything about 73, right? And here comes Slade, a very popular group, that's just had two big number ones, and they hear this song. And I think, and I know it's a fact, that that song lifted the nation. It took the British people who were already pissed off with everything. They're all going, "I've had enough of this." Then here comes Nod shouting, "It's Christmas." And it's just magic, that record. It's just rock, it's strong, it's loud, it's everything that we have as a band. Recording it in New York was an experience. We recorded in New York in July, and the Americans coming to work while we were in the corridors singing it thought we were a bunch of nutcases, And I thought it was quite charming because they were going because they didn't know us, they didn't know who we were, and it was like they were
Did you
like,
walk through
"Oh,
airports in all the with all the flamboyancy going on as well, or did you keep your
well,
head down a bit?
no, we were standing around the mic to sing the choruses together.
Right.
They came in, it was 100 degrees, and they came in sweating. And they thought we were a bunch of crazy, crazy Englishmen. He said, "Who are you?" I said, "We're Slade." He says, "Never heard of you. You want to get a life," or something like that. So the aspect of the record is that John Lennon gave us a week out of his schedule in the studio to record that song. And John Lennon came in as Chaz was mixing it, and we'd finished the song. And Chaz Lennon came in because he's a friend of Chaz, and he said, "I like that singer. He sounds like me." That was Nod he's talking about, right? I think for a man like John Lennon, it's one heck of a compliment because I think, in a way, John Lennon's voice in the early days was like Nod, or Nod was like him, because we grew up at similar times. See, the Beatles are older than us, but we grew up in the era of factories,
Yeah.
working class, and all that. We're a council estate band, that wanted to do something in life. And like anything, I think with a song like the Christmas song, I think the success of that is a combination of things. I think Britain was fed up. Most of all, what a great song. I mean, it's not a jingle bell song. It's not a religious song. It's about everybody having half of them, getting the booze down, ain't the family round, buying presents, everything we like about Christmas. Trees, snow if you're lucky, which we never were half the time. But but the thing about the Christmas song, undeniably, none of us at that time would know what would happen to that song
What
and what it would become.
was it intimidating having John Lennon in the same room as yourself?
No, I wasn't there.
Oh,
We
okay.
just walked in.
Right.
No, it wouldn't be intimidating because
Mm.
we love him. And John coming in is a special person. Now, I've met McCartney, I've met Ringo, Now, you're always slightly nervous when you meet your heroes. You know, I wouldn't be intimidated by John because I think he was an honest guy, very clever guy, and he probably doesn't waste words. And when he come out with that, that was a nice thing to say
Mm.
because Chaz always knew Noddy had got, well, even Ozzy said in an interview that he thought Nod was the most incredible rock singer in the world. Ozzy said that personally. And I agree with Ozzy because there was nothing like him, you know. And our style of music, was different from any other band that was in that chart. They were all bidding for the top slot, but they all avoided releasing their records when we had one out. Because the record companies always try to find out, are Slade releasing a song? And if so, we're not going to release this until it's over, right? So we came on the back of Mark Bolan. He was big before us. I remember I was looking at Mark Bolan and Mickey Finn and saying to Chaz, "Oh, it'd be nice to be like that, wouldn't it?" Chaz said he has been much bigger than him, and he's so confident. And in most cases, Chaz was always right. It was Chaz that wanted us to release that because I love you. We wanted a rock song out, and he said no. He said this song has got something. And he was right because I played it to my sister, who's extremely musical and sings and dances. She said she shivered when she heard that record. And that's how the public went. It was it was a record of its time, and somehow it got us on top of the pops, my clothes, the stuff I was doing visually, my hairstyle,
Mhm.
everything. We'd been skinheads before that, and then we grew our hair and we had hairstyles, right? So we tried the skinhead, but that didn't work. But Chaz was always focused, and you had to believe him because he had a tendency to know what's right. Now, what I remember when we were trying to write another Cause I Love You once, so we went down to see him, and Chaz is listening, and he's going, "Oh, that's quite good." And then when we did Mama All Crazy Now, that was it. That's the one
Nice.
because it was Stonesy. It sounds like the Stones. Sounds like Keith Richard and all that. Mama All Crazy Now is almost like, you know, what's that song of it's all over now, like the Stones. It's that kind of rhythm. And we come up with that song. And that was the beginning of the straight to number ones. That would lead to that aspect of being so big that nobody had a chance to come anywhere near us because it's all about timing, the visual appearance of the group, the fun of the group. And I think the public, in a working class way, made a real strong connection to our music because I think someone described Noddy's voice as a working man crying out to do something. And it's an interesting point there because the Midlands was full of factories and a lot of groups grew up in the factory environment. So there was a lot of like getting out of there,
Mhm.
and making something. I was in an office, I mean, I was just dying to get out of that job. And then I saw an opportunity and I took it, and mom said yes, and dad said yes. And I was 18 and I grew my hair and I looked like George Harrison a bit, and I got my first girlfriend. So it was all right. I was doing well.
Were there ever a moment when you thought, just hearing your story, everything just seems to be so matter of fact, and we did this, then we did that, then all the number ones came, and then we did that, then we got a manager. He sacked the record company off. We cracked on. We just did this. We did this. We took over the world. Everything.
Mm.
How do you like? What was it like inside the camp? Was it did that kind of environment and that speed of the development of the band, did that come with extra pressures or anything between you all?
Uh, you say speed.
Okay.
When you think it took so long
Yeah.
to get the beginning of that, right?
Right. Okay.
And what happened after that was maintaining it.
Mm.
And Jim was a pretty fluent writer. and he worked with Nod. Jim always was writing the next hit, always, or the next album. And he worked with Nod. Their combination was like a Lennon and McCartney. But Chaz had a vision, right? He knew how to keep us focused. We were a sort of group that was quite capable of doing complicated songs. We used to play Moody Blues and with Nights and White Satin, and
Mm.
we used to do a bit of jazz. Chaz always kept us where the fans were. So the music he would choose would be focused on the atmosphere of our shows. Come on, Feel the Noise was a classic example of the audience arriving and what were they going to do? They were going to sing and make a noise, right? And we would give them the noise. And Come on, Feel the Noise is an anthem song which Oasis covered.
Mm.
And in America, Quiet Riot covered it and had a huge hit with it, number one actually. And then America came calling again.
Mm.
Um, the thing is, with Chaz, he was, we were his kid, we were his mates, we were his boys. He was older and we listened to him. And having a good manager tends to stop you from arguments in the band. You've got somebody to blame or you blame the roadie. In a band, there's always friction, and friction create great songs. Friction and because individually, especially me, I knew what I wanted. I knew how I wanted to look. I knew I could play guitar. Chaz believed in my guitar playing, and he's Jimi Hendrix's manager, so he should
Yeah.
know. He said, don't copy Hendrix or anything like that. Be that style. He said, Dave, you understand rock and roll. The way you play it, I've got the same fierceness in my playing now as I had when I was young.
Mm.
It doesn't go away. It's in my brain. And the thing about Chaz's focus was he would always keep the lid on anything too far forward. So you wouldn't be jumping in to do your epic Sergeant Pepper yet,
Yeah.
right? He would keep you focused. Do not outgrow your fans. If you go too far, they lose it.
Mm.
So we kept focus right to the end of 1973 and then into 74. If you look, you'll see every day, you'll see far, far away eventually, you will see a more reflective style of Slade, right? Which showed the capacity of what we could be. I honestly, I honestly think there was another album than this before we broke up. But unfortunately, um, situation in the band became awkward, and Nod wanted to go in another direction, and I understood everything he said because you do reach a point where you think you've done everything, right? And there's nowhere to go. I think there may have been another album, but maybe the atmosphere or the timing of it was not quite right then. But I think we did go through a period where we couldn't find a hit between the first period of all the hits, but then we did Reading Festival because at that point I nearly left the band because I was broke because it was just difficult. I got kids.
Yeah.
But Chaz talked us into doing Reading. That brought us back, and Chaz got us a record deal with RCA, and that started to have some of the bigger hits again and took us into the 80s when primarily the 80s were people playing keyboards all over the place, right? Rock wasn't exactly the most priority. There was a lot of experimentation, which seems to have disappeared now, and it sounds like the 80s.
Yeah.
But with Slade, we had a big comeback and we started to move towards the rock concerts. So we did a massive gig at Donington Festival with AC/DC. Now, it doesn't matter who's top of the bill or who's on before us. Nobody can compete with our songs. Nobody. Those songs are indelible in everybody's head. So the audience in the 80s would have been at school buying our records in the 70s. So we were guaranteed to go down extremely well. In fact, it's hard for a band to follow us because of all the songs. I mean, at Reading Festival, the audience was so I mean, in August, we were going bloody crazy to do the Christmas song. And Nod says, look at this. He said, you lot sing it. And 40,000 people sung it. And it was remarkable. I mean, and then within 2 or 3 months, I'm back in the charts. So I ain't gonna leave because it's not right for me to leave. And thanks to Chas, because he taught me into doing it. Because he said to me, he said, Dave, he said, you have more experience and more hit records than any band on that bill. And there was UFO and there was Def Leppard and there was all White Snake. They were no match to what we got. We it was it was hard for Def Leppard to go on stage after us because it's a bit like what happened to Elton John years ago. Elton wants to launch his new album, but he's got the Beach Boys on before him. Bad idea. Beach Boys are immensely big, like the Beatles, and they've got all the songs. They went at an absolute store. And then people are then listening to Elton, albeit he wanted to launch his new album, but they didn't know it. So they're waiting for Yellow Brick Road or something, but they're not getting it, right? But the Beach Boys, we had that at Reading. Nobody could have followed us. They could have done it, but the audience out there know what they love. And all the rock bands that were on that show hadn't got the history of our stuff, right? And I've always felt no matter where I play, no matter who's on before me or who's on after me, that I have the confidence of standing on a stage because I am Slade, right? I am Slade now. Last man standing. I know how to do it. I have a great band, great musicians, two singers, great drummer, used to work for Will Carl Johnson.
Oh.
We're a happy band. We're going to Germany at the end of this week. I was in Holland the week before, two shows. I've toured the world. I've been to Russia and toured Russia. Noddy would never have been able to do that because we couldn't have gone there in the 70s. And then in East Germany, when it opened up, the wall came down and everything, we headed to East Germany and we were playing to 30,000 people a day because the promoter was a big promoter and he put together several bands. He put together some 70s bands and 60s bands. So he had a package of 60s and 70s music. So it was somebody might buy a ticket, I don't know, quite expensive. We'd only do 4 or 5 songs.
Okay.
We can do 5 number ones, nobody's going to touch us, It's as simple as that. We have some Noel Gallagher in particular, who I've met many times, has always been very complimentary about the influence that Slade had upon him and Liam when they were young.
Well, I was a guy of the 90s and Oasis were my band and Come On Feel the Noise when Noel covered that and the band covered it were like my introduction to Slade. And it's just,
Yeah,
I'm 47 now and I keep getting introduced to different Slade things still. Always through my life, there's a new nugget of Slade I didn't know anything about. Like you're always learning about this
yeah,
massive thing you've created. It's amazing, really. Even like little things like Vic and Bob.
yeah.
When you did those sketches of you guys, how did
Well,
you?
that was great, wasn't it?
What about like Vic and Bob? Like my favorite comedian heroes ever. When
Yeah,
favorite sketches were when you guys all sat around at the house
yeah.
drinking your cup of soups and stuff.
I do.
You know what I mean?
Yes, I had this one guy in the band. He was a redhead. He joined the band. He was one of these widdly widdly guitar players, right? The 80s type style guitar player.
Mm.
Anyway, he joined me, and he'd got all the series of what Vic and Bob did. So he
Yeah.
bought it on day or something, and he shoved it in the thing, and all the bands that we were touring with were all watching it. I mean, it was hilariously funny, you know, especially where one of them's got a hammer on my head and he's trying to knock me into the ground, and all that business about cutting me hair.
Yeah.
It it's slapstick humor.
Yeah.
That's what it is. It's Norman Wisdom, isn't it? Daft but funny.
Yeah.
And because, in a way, there's not many bands you can take the piss out of. But the thing with people like me and Nod in particular, he's like Jagger. Jagger, you'll always know who he is, right? So you can take him off, or you can do a cartoon of him. We were a good band to do cartoons of, but actually Slade Go Camping or Slade Live in an House, the kind of stuff there. And then Vic and Bob, because the one sort of looked like me, and then the other one looked like Nod, and he was doing that all right, and
Yeah.
um, I heard about it going to happen. There was a group called Wonder Stuff, and
Yep.
they were friends of Vic and Bob,
Yeah.
and I'd been writing some songs with his uncle, which who was in oh gosh, I'm getting mixed up now. What's the guitar player?
Oh, from the Wonder Stuff. Miles Hunt.
No, Miles Hunt, I know.
Oh.
I was just thinking of Roy Wood. Roy
Right.
Wood.
Oh, yes. Right. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, Roy Wood. Uh, I was writing some songs with Bill Hunt, who was in Roy Wood's band. And Bill said to me, he said, oh, my nephew or somebody, he says, oh, what's it? He's told me that they're doing a bloody sketch on you and it's really hilarious. You see, so I heard it through Wonder
Yeah.
Stuff,
Nice.
told me, because I nearly did a song with Wonder Stuff because they wanted me to play on it.
Oh.
But it was Bill Hunt who told me, because Bill Hunt was in the early ELO as well, and because he was part of there were several of them. There was Jeff Lynne,
Mm.
there was Roy, and there was a group called The Move, which was an early group, long before you were born, right? And they had several people in that group that became something afterwards, particularly Roy Wood, right? And Jeff Lynne was in a group called the Idol Race, and he was a writer. He didn't say much, he's a very quiet guy, but he came up with these songs, and we did one of his songs on our first album by Jeff Lynne because he was a brummie and he was a great writer. This is before we wrote. He was writing anyway. And then there was Black Sabbath, who we did gigs with when there were nobody. And we did Mecca ballrooms. Can you believe that with Black Sabbath? But that's how we know Ozzy. And the other thing was Ozzy's wife, Sharon, when our manager left us a long time ago, and we moved into where was it, the 80s, and we started to have success, America came calling, and the guy who looks after Slade was looking after Sharon and Ozzy, and Sharon, or he asked Sharon if she would be our manager in America because she
Yeah.
understood the record companies, because of Ozzy. And she said, "Yeah, let's put Slade on the bill with Ozzy in the States, which means it'll draw a big crowd, and we've got a um, more of an audience." So we brought. They heard My Oh My. They wanted to release that at first, but they didn't release it, and they should have done. But CBS said, "No, we're going to bring out Run Runaway because there's all this Scottish thing in it." He said the Americans will like that, and they did, and it was a hit record for us. So Sharon managed us, and strange set of circumstances brought the group to a halt, a big halt. We did one or two shows ourselves, and Sharon came with us. Then we went back with Ozzy, right? And I could see in my mind how much love Ozzy and Sharon had for each other. I saw evidence of their humour and what she did for him. She was the best person he ever met, I reckon, anyway, in his life, and I think she helped him come back after he got kicked out of Sabbath years ago. So, but she
I've just
meant
finished
life.
just finished his book, Dave. Yeah, I've just finished his new book, his new book, and you're right. Yeah, just how much strength she gave him through the years, even through the tough
Oh,
years at the
oh,
end. And
it's mega. She was extremely clever.
yeah,
Um, and when she managed us, she had a way of dealing with things really good. She was cool with us, really good, but she was funny as well, really amusing
yeah,
person. But her father was Don Arden, who was a well-known man in Jet Records. So she knew the business. She knew it from her dad. And she was very, very good and strong and very well respected by CBS as an important person. So she took us out to the States. And the only reason we stopped when we were working with Ozzy is we were forced into it. Unfortunately, Jim Laird, our bass player, got the worst hepatitis, nearly died, and we had to stay in a hotel, which was just off Hollywood Boulevard, where all the big bands stay there. I forgot the name of it now, but it was a main place. They were like apartments, and all the big bands stayed there. And he had to stay in bed for a week. So me and Nod did the promotion for Run Run Away. And we came back to England and we never played again. Never, never played again. It was just, it could, everything worked well for us. We returned to the scene, but then we come to back to a situation where our bass player became quite ill. And like a lot of things in bands, you reach a point where I thought we were really going to make it big time in America. I thought we've got the foot in the door now, and we got a name, but now we could really have an album out of it. Well, I think we could have done that, but we didn't do that. Sharon looked after us, but she saw it that we needed to be on the road. I can't explain everything, but things change and people change. And whatever was to be has happened. And in a way, where I am now is a product of the split up of the band and what I did to survive. And in a way, I've kept the name and the songs alive. Um, like a lot of bands, they sell their catalogues. Bruce Springsteen's done it, Rod Stewart's done it, and we've done it now. Because we are have a demand. And an American company has bought the lot. And it's good because, in a way, when records, the way it is at the moment, it's on its knees, we have to look at other ways of promoting ourselves. And I have many opportunities because I've got a massive fan base across the world. So it's only a matter of letting people know. And I haven't done the album necessarily. Well, I have done it for mainly myself for a personal satisfaction of being creative because I miss the creative days of Don, Jim, and Nod because I loved being with Chaz Chandler. He kept the peace in the band and we worked and made those great records. Now, now what's happened now is interestingly is I spoke to Nod about it, and Nod encouraged me to do something for myself. He said, "You've got Slade, you can go and do that any day, right? But do something for yourself, Dave. Prove how good a guitarist you are." He said, because a lot of people think about you and the clothes. He said, but there's a lot more, isn't there? And Nod was right. And he's such a friend to me. So he encouraged me, and I got to work, and I'd already got the songs, and I was working with somebody. But it came to me in my mind, I need somebody younger to listen to the songs and let's make it something like now, right? And I said to Nod, your son's a producer, isn't he? And he said, yeah, and he's really great. He's a great voice. He's got He can play piano, he can play guitar, play bass. I think he can do everything actually. He said, why don't you ask him? And I did. And he's produced the whole album. And
Wow.
I love him to bits. I think he's, you know, he looks like his mom more so than not. But he's a calm person to be with and he's creative in a calm way. So some of the songs I wrote are quite emotional in a sense they're true. And Nod said to me, he said he's very good with emotional songs because I think he got some award for his help up in I think it was years ago he got an award, I know that, but he also mixed Motorhead's famous album. He remastered it and rooted into it and did a fantastic job. To be honest with you, I really like being with him. He plays great. He's played some stuff on my tracks. Um, and he's just, some producers can be a bit dogmatic, but he let me be myself, but he helped me be myself because I was treading new ground by singing.
Yeah.
And some of the one or two of the songs have got they need a powerful vocalist. So I chose my bass player who's got a great voice. I thought if he just handles one or two, and he give it a nice slant, the
Mm.
rest of it I can handle because I'm not Noddy. I'm not that sort of singer. But I've got a voice. And sometimes my spoken voice is a bit on one or two of the songs, which is quite nice. Sometimes I can be, is it Nicola Cave? What's his name? Some people say it's a bit like him, but I feel in the album it's given an example of what I'm really like as a person, not to be just known for the glitter boy who
Yeah.
played on the big records. Yes, I'm known for that, but known for something which is more mature,
Mm.
more where you want to be at this age. Because you're not going to write about knocking a bird off, are you, as 18? You're not going to be, you're not writing a song about wrecking a hotel or and didn't we, because I never got into drugs.
Yeah.
So I no need write a song and look rebellious. I'm a family man. I've got 5 grandkids, great wife, and my main kids are great. That's where the body of my strength lies. But when it comes to what I do and well-being and how I am, then walking on a stage is still strong
Yeah.
and it's not going away anytime soon. Because why would you leave something and do nothing, right? I mean, I might do quite well with a solo, which would also lead to gigs, wouldn't it? Because I'm going to perform them. So, and I've got 2 more albums written, I'm
Okay.
waiting for, but I found somebody who can help me make a good job because he's here. He can hear better than me. I'm partly deaf anyway, bit of
Yeah.
rock and roll. I said, but the thing is, I've got somebody that makes the songs have a great atmosphere. He's good at that, and in a way, he's he's almost like a family member working for me. It's just a bit like that. But that's what's great is being creative, because I think being creative gives you a sense of well-being of doing something really good.
Yeah.
That there's almost a strength in it. It's really funny because when we used to make good albums, or even when we were having a rough time in the old band, sometimes we'd go in and create something, and it always gives us a sense of strength. And I think I got some strength from this album because it just made me think that I'm in this bubble, and this bubble, I've created this bubble, and I don't particularly want to come out of it. It's a bit sort of
Yeah.
quite like it. If you
You,
can
you
stand
never,
back.
you could never see yourself on stage with Noddy again.
No, not as
No.
such as Noddy singing, because there's no reason for Nod.
Yeah.
to come on stage and sing his old material because Noddy is older. And respectfully speaking, a voice like Noddy's is a voice of a certain time in history
Yeah.
when it was best. And I'm sure he doesn't want to get up on stage and try and sing that stuff because that would be looking back to when he was young, and it's understandable what he was doing then was then. It's not now.
Mm.
He's quite capable of singing if he wants to do some songs.
Yeah.
He's quite capable of still having a voice, but he's found other things. He met Suzanne, who's been absolutely great, and she produced him a son because he'd only got two girls. Now he's got a boy, grown up, 30 odd, who's making his way in life. And there is no doubt, well, there's no doubt in my mind that he's a successful producer. Uh, I couldn't think of anybody better. I don't want to do the next album with him without a doubt. I just like being with him. And I've tried several people and they get so opinionated, or sometimes they don't know quite what to say to you. When you're famous and that can be awkward. Man, Django isn't like that. You have a feeling he really knows what's going on. Some people are blagging you. I
Yeah.
never quite get on with him. But I found somebody, and thanks to Nod, I found him. Um, and his mum's great. Nod's wife's successful author, And I don't know. Who knows what the future brings? I mean, we don't know that. But I think the main point of life is keep moving forward, but keep in the moment of every day because there are so many of my friends who are dead that you make every day count. The older you get, you make every day count, you see.
Well, I only asked Dave because it's marketed as the last gig. Sorry, the final tour in December. You've got all these dates coming up.
Yeah.
I don't quite believe it's going to be, Dave, to be honest with you, based on our little chat today.
No, it's not going to be because it's a slight misunderstanding that
Uh,
I was packing up, not packing up at all.
yeah.
Just saying I didn't want to play back-to-back gigs. So
Ah,
I
yeah.
shall do cherry pick special gigs for next
Yeah.
Christmas. So they're going to come back,
Mm,
right? And maybe I'll be playing some of my own stuff, who knows?
mm,
But I'm going to cherry pick slightly larger gigs.
mm.
So I don't have to go shooting up and down the country
Yeah.
to play smaller gigs.
Mm.
Um, so this isn't a final. This is just a change from back-to-back gigs
Oh,
because they are harder to cope with. So I'm going to have little breaks, you know,
mm.
only do two or three sound checks and leave it to the crew and enjoy myself. It's been a good year, and I think next year could be extremely interesting with the mental health and the solo.
Mm.
And and it's something new for me as well. It's fresh. And why not?
Yeah.
I mean, that guy there, right? Has seen it all, right? Okay. And that's sort of the pinnacle of our success, right? This is the guy now, sitting there with his guitar. See that guitar there?
Still got the same happy smile.
Yeah, that's right. But I'm just older.
Yeah.
And that guitar my dad bought me is the most famous guitar that played on all the biggest hits, that guitar. And he bought it for 220 quid in London, right? And that was a lot of money in 1968, you know. But it's all about,
Is it still behind you anyway there? I'm just having a look behind you with the guitars. Is it still
I see
around that
it.
one?
You want to see it?
Yeah, I'd love to.
Yeah.
If you're listening on the audio version of the podcast, Dave's just having a walk past his studio to pick up the guitar so we can have a look. You can watch all this on YouTube if you're on the audio version as well, guys. Oh, there we are. Wow.
You see it?
I can, yeah.
Now look at the
Beautiful
back,
thing.
see the history,
Wow.
and you can see it all around the guitar. Years and
Beautiful.
years,
Beautiful.
nearly 60 years of guitar playing on that. It's it was made by a Chinaman.
Mm,
That is a Gibson neck, which was added onto a SG shaped body, double cut, right? The pickup is unique, there isn't another. Because when they made the pickups in the early 60s, they wound them differently each time. Now you get factory ones where they're all the same.
mm.
So with like Peter Green and Clapton, he's probably got guitars which have a particular pickup which wasn't repeated. Because the quirky thing with the pickups is it depends who wound it at the time.
Right.
So that came in, it's called a PAF pickup. And then that looks like a Fender pickup, right? Can you see that
Yep.
there?
Yep.
But actually, the combination of the two is really odd, but it works, right? It's like I use that if I'm doing something quiet and then I shove it across to get the wang. The guitar sound of this guitar is not muddy, it's very cutty but powerful. In other words, if you play it to a musician, they'll hear Slade
Oh,
because I'm playing it
mm.
and it's that guitar, you see.
Oh,
Uh, so I don't really take it on the road. I keep it for recording, right?
wow.
Because like a lot of Gibsons, the neck tends to break. But this one was a little bit different. It sort of, one, it's been repaired by a friend of mine who's excellent at matching things. It sort of, this part came forward. What it was in a case that didn't protect the neck.
Yeah.
And goes, and then you get people in the flights, the baggage handlers, they drop the cases on the floor. So the guitar I use live is a Gibson,
Mm.
but it's in a metal case, and all the case is shaped to support it. So I've had no problems with that.
Oh, well, thanks for showing me that, Dave.
So, I mean, the history of things, this is a copy of the same guitar
Yeah.
because a maker wanted to make a copy of this guitar. The guitar maker was John Diggins, and
Mm.
he made guitars for Tony Iommi.
Mm.
Made the Super Yob. Do you know what the Super Yob guitar is?
Go
You
on.
ever heard about that? Okay. Well, Marco Peroni, do you know who he is? Marco,
Go on, Dave. Now.
Adam and the Ants. Right.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah. He's got it because he was mad keen on it. I sold it for three guitars, right? And the shop put it in the window and he come walking in and they were big in the chart. And he says, I want to buy that guitar. He said, it's not for sale. He says, everything's for sale. I think threw a figure at him and he went back and he sent the road manager with a pile of cash. And bought,
I'll take it.
yeah, I've met him, see. But I think it's nice because he cited his memory
Yeah.
of watching me on Top of the Pops, you see. And he's going, what the heck is that guitar? But
I'm
it's a super yob. I'll show you what it's shaped like.
okay. Loving this.
Have it with me at the moment. This is a very crude version of it, right? Like a miniature. But the guitar
Oh,
was silver, and you see there it's got super yob, right? And that's how it actually looks, right? And and
is
then
that? Do you know that little guitar thing? I've got a little Beatles one. I were in Japan and bought a little Paul McCartney version of like that kind
oh
of.
yeah,
It's like a little toy type thing.
yeah, it is,
And,
and
and I've got a Ringo drum kit as well as similar kind of thing.
yeah, it's emulates. It's wrong color because the guitar is silver, and then that plate was metal, and it's
Oh,
got super yob on it, and that so you could when you lift it, you do this, and the lights pick up on it, and you point it
oh,
at the crowd. You see, so. In Mum are all crazy now. I go off and I change guitars and I come on thumping hell out of it. You see.
nice.
I
Oh,
don't know if we're off for time. Can I
yeah,
just?
Of course,
Can I,
Dave. Yeah, I know I've taken a lot of your time. Are you okay for just a couple of minutes? And we'll just
let,
talk about the tour and
I just wondered if anybody's waiting for me. What time is it?
nearly quarter past three.
3:15. You're Carl, aren't you?
I am, yeah.
Yeah. I think there's going to be trouble.
Oh, okay.
Supposed to be doing it at 2:40. So, I think we're
Okay.
well out. Shall we do
Oh,
a quick?
yeah. Do you want to just tell us? Yeah. Thanks for your time, Dave. Sorry, I didn't realize you had a time limit there. But
Yeah, I do, but I talk a lot.
oh, well, that's all right.
Right, shall I?
The tour tickets are on sale now, Dave. You can click a link in the description of this
That's right.
podcast for people to join you on tour. It starts on the 28th of November in Hastings, goes all the way all over the country, all the way up to finishing in Manchester on the 22nd of December. Tickets are available now. You can click on the link. Dave, if they've not clicked on that link yet, what should they do, mate?
If you haven't clicked on the link, give me a call. No, don't give me a call. Now click on the link.
Yeah,
Um, just go to the Slade'S site and you'll know all the
yeah,
venues. It'll show you on that.
yeah,
One in London, Shepherd's Bush. We haven't played there since the big
yeah,
years.
yeah,
So we're trying to do at best, try and do the places where people can get to. It's selling like crazy. So
yeah.
tell your audiences to make sure they get the tickets soon because it will be sold out.
Get a click. I'm just going to show you this, Dave. I bought this guitar recently.
Oh, yeah.
Influenced by the guy you mentioned earlier, Miles Hunt. I've loved Miles Hunt for years, and I saw him
Yeah, yeah.
on his acoustic tour. He plays a Gretsch, um,
Great.
and
Yeah, it is a great, isn't it?
just had to get one, and that's just influenced from my love of Miles Hunt that we mentioned earlier on in the interview as well. So
Right.
that's my little ending for today, Dave. And I don't want you to get
Uh,
too done, mate.
Yeah, I
Look,
better, be respectful to others.
yeah,
Um,
I really
Thanks a lot.
appreciate your time, Dave. Thanks, Dave. All the best,
Yeah,
mate. Good luck on the
all the
tour.
best to you too.
Thank
Nice
you. Lovely
Christmas.
to meet you. You too.
Yeah, thank you.